In business, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome, of course, to the George Benson Football Channel, the home of Chelsea news, 6 things we learned, various other series, including 10 things we learned from Premier League game weeks, which started earlier today. I'll leave a link to it in the description if you haven't already seen it. Before we get into a jam-packed Chelsea news video, I want to ask you to subscribe to GBFC. It is the place to be. You guys let me know that in the comments, so for that reason, if you're not yet subscribed, I'd love to ask you to do so. There's a lot of stuff to talk about today in this video. Sadly, there was no more here we go from Fabrizio Romano. We didn't sign another defensive midfielder, but at the same time, and we'll start off with this story first, we didn't lose Jorginho to Arsenal. That was looking like a potential signing that Arsenal could have made on deadline day. There were talks of a loan. Instead, Arsenal went out and they got Mikel Arteta's first target of Thomas Partey in a €50 million deal from Atletico Madrid. Now, how do I feel about this one with Jorginho? You guys are the first to say that I say a lot of bad stuff about Jorginho, and then when he does good, I'm acting like he's the best player in the world, which I wouldn't say is necessarily true. But what I did see from Jorginho in that game against Crystal Palace was very good. I thought he complemented the team well. We know that on his day and in certain systems, Jorginho is a very useful footballer. I've never doubted his ability. The only question I've had is whether or not he fits right now in the kind of football style that Frank Lampard's trying to play. Now, first things first, I'm very glad that we didn't let Jorginho go on loan to a direct rival. Unless they were going to pay us like a substantial sum, it wouldn't have been a very good value transfer for Chelsea to sanction. At the same time, when we didn't bring in Declan Rice, we were also linked with Arsenal boy Thomas Partey as well. When Chelsea didn't bring in another defensive midfielder, it would have been crazy to let Jorginho go. We've let Ross Barkley go, we've let Ruben go, and we're going to talk about that one a little bit in a moment. Jorginho stays at Chelsea, and overall, I stand by what I said regarding Jorginho maybe not being the best style of player right now for this Chelsea team under Frank Lampard. But I'm glad he stayed. If he can keep taking penalties and scoring goals whenever he's on the field, I think Chelsea are going to get a lot of pens this season. The reason United got a lot of penalties and still do get a lot of penalties is because their players that enter the box are very fast players. They've got that quick little touch which forces the defenders to make tackles. Chelsea now have those players too, with Christian Pulisic, Timo Werner, Kai Havertz. Hakim Ziyech will be that man as well, Hudson-Odoi. So expect a lot of penalties this season. Expect Jorginho to probably score 10 goals this season, all from the penalty spot. So that's news story number 1. We're very happy about that one. I guess news story number 2, I want to bring this up very briefly. Ross Barkley against Aston Villa against Liverpool was absolutely fantastic. It's great news. If Chelsea's midfielders that are currently out on loan can have good seasons, then it is a position where next summer we don't need to look to invest. We could maybe go out and spend big on getting someone like Jadon Sancho, who Manchester United just didn't really have the minerals for it, to be quite honest, did they? So, gonna let that one sit with you guys right now. It's a bit of a crazy idea, but it's Chelsea Football Club, who knows? The real story that I want to talk about today is the deadline day loan move for Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He stays in West London, which I think is absolutely brilliant in terms of the Chelsea culture. He's still very close to the bridge. Fulham are a team who are really struggling. We've already seen in the early stages of this season, the first 4 games, they've been beaten 4 times. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is going there, and he's a big signing for Fulham, who you know are going to be playing him every single week. He's going to get Premier League minutes. He's going to be challenged in every single game that he plays, because he's going to be one of the best players, playing against players that are going to be competing with him in the Premier League. So Ruben to Fulham, what do I think about this one? 10 out of 10 move. I said, if he does go out on loan, I think it's good for him. I think it's the biggest season of his footballing career. After that injury, it's obviously stunted his growth as a player. He's not managed to reach the heights that we thought he was going to reach prior to that injury, when he was becoming a big part of Maurizio Sarri's Chelsea side, particularly with his run of form in the Europa League before that stupendous injury. Stupendous makes it sound good. Stupid bloody injury in that game in the US. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he's not looked the same player since he's been back, and that also is hindered by the lack of minutes and lack of opportunity because Chelsea can't afford to just give a player like Ruben Loftus-Cheek minutes just because it's Ruben Loftus-Cheek and he came through the academy and played in 2014, and since then we've been waiting for that breakthrough. He got it was taken away. Chelsea don't have the time to accommodate Ruben for his recovery in terms of giving him those first team minutes to make him the player that we know he can be. Going to Fulham, they're a side that are definitely going to struggle, but it means he's going to be playing every single week. Chelsea get to have a look at him playing against competitors that he would be playing against in a Chelsea shirt. I don't think there was a better move for Ruben than that. He gets to stay in West London, close to all of his mates at Chelsea, gets new mates at Fulham as well. I think it's a brilliant move and I wish him all of the best, and I would love to see Ruben have a killer season, come back to Chelsea next year and get that place in our midfield that I know he's always wanted and we know he's always been good enough to do. Story number 3 really, but story number 4, Bakayoko. I mean, I'm very surprised that Timi Bakayoko is still a Chelsea player, technically. However, I'm also not surprised because when he's been on the pitch, he's not really done enough for any teams to want to go out and spend the kind of money that Chelsea would have wanted them to actually spend on the players' services. Bakayoko has secured a season-long loan move to Napoli. Again, he doesn't just go out on loan to the Championship, which when I've seen him play in a blue shirt, is kind of the level that I've seen from Bakayoko. He's got a big move again. He's had Monaco, he's had links to PSG. Napoli have gone in for him. There's clearly, despite it never working for him at Chelsea, there is a good player in there. I know it's hard for me to say that because I always kind of like make jokes about how bad his performances have been. But Bakayoko to Napoli, again, I think he's at that stage in his career. He's of a similar age to Ruben Loftus-Cheek, where there was a lot of promise, there was a lot of potential. With Bakayoko, the move to Chelsea really did stop his career from growing. When he was at Monaco, he looked like a very good player. Yes, there have always been questions about the quality of the French league. Will it transition to a bigger league, to a bigger club? He went to Chelsea and it just never quite worked out for him. The first season he played, I remember he scored a goal against Huddersfield, but other than that, I remember red cards, I remember dreadful passes in friendlies in Ireland, which I always bring up as my example of Bakayoko's ability. However, I wish him all of the best of luck again, just because he's a Chelsea player that's not quite worked. He still is our boy. And, I hope he does have a very good season, and probably, I don't expect to see him play in a Chelsea shirt again, but if he does have a good year, even though there's no option to buy in the Napoli loan move that he's got, it means that we can hopefully sell him for a decent price next summer in order to keep balance in Chelsea's books, keep us on the right side of financial fair play, and maybe even fund some bigger transfers for bigger targets come next summer or January. Story number 5, and this one has come out that supposedly Fikayo Tomori personally declined a move to West Ham United on loan towards the final days of the transfer window. There are a few things that I think about this. I think Fikayo Tomori is a very good centre-back. I think he's a very good player. We know that in terms of the conversation of how good he is, there's still a lot of potential that can be fulfilled with Tomori's ability. He's still very young. Right now at Chelsea, there are 2 centre-backs who are clearly above him in the pecking order. It's Thiago Silva because of his experience and quality, Kurt Zouma because of his form and the way that he's played and how both him and Thiago Silva help each other's games. They're confident together. It looks like a partnership that could flourish. Fikayo Tomori decided that he doesn't want the West Ham move. He wants to stay at Chelsea and fight for his first team place. Not only does this show that Tomori is very hungry, it shows that he loves Chelsea Football Club. Again, he's one of those academy boys where we have that beautiful story of Tomori breaking through into the team. We had some wonderful moments from him last season. And I like this. I like the fact that he knows he could have gone to West Ham to get first team minutes. But I also think he knows that he's only a couple of good performances away from actually breaking through into this Chelsea team. So Tomori stays. Very happy about that. I'm actually more confident with him in the team than, say, Christensen or anybody else. Rudiger as well, who we will get onto in a moment. This is a jam-packed video today. Tomori stays. I'm happy with that one. Rudiger, he also stays. There was a loan move offered from Spurs, which again is a weird one for Chelsea to consider because you don't really want to go ahead and be giving players on loan to a rival, people playing in the same positions or for the same positions that Chelsea are looking for in the Premier League. Rudiger's been offered to Spurs on loan, and I love this again. He's turned it down because he didn't want to create a bad relationship with the Chelsea fans. I like the principle behind this. I think it's great that Rudiger loves Chelsea Football Club and he loves our fans, and he really does seem to love the club. It's just the issue I have is the performances from Rudiger over the last season or so. They've not been good enough for me to be confident in him to be a first-team centre-back at our club. What this then creates, with Rudiger not moving away, is the potential of dressing room unrest, which is something that now Lampard is going to have to combat. Lampard's going to know that with Jorginho not moving away, with Rudiger not moving away, these are two players that are going to want to be getting minutes at the club. They're big personalities. We know that Rudiger is loved amongst his teammates. And, you know, if players aren't playing, particularly when you're not even in the matchday squad, there's going to be frustrations from Rudiger. And it's going to be a difficult one for Lampard to manage. And with Tomori staying as well, you look at Tomori, you look at Christensen, and right now, Rudiger's the fifth choice centre-back at our club. So it is a questionable one. I think maybe a loan move would have been good. I wouldn't have wanted it to be Spurs, but if they're the club interested, Chelsea had a decision to make. Rudiger stays at Chelsea. Let's see where it goes from here. Now then, the second part of this video is going to be a roundup of all of Chelsea's signings this summer. I would go as far as to say that this has been the best transfer window in my living memory as a Chelsea fan. It's kind of been a bit like, you know, when you get to the party and the climax is like as soon as you arrive, and then later on in the night you just sat there like, should I go home now? Should I call this one a day? Like, is there any better options out there? And you end up staying, and then when you leave, it's a bit like, So it's kind of like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, we wanted a defensive midfielder. We had these links to Declan Rice. There was the late stories about Thomas Partey maybe joining us. It didn't happen, but I don't want to let that cloud over what has been an incredibly brilliant window. It's been blue skies all over. Chelsea have bought in players in positions that we needed to. We look at the other players we've got at the club. We've got Billy Gilmour, Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho. These are more than good enough players to fulfill a defensive midfield role at Chelsea Football Club. So the Partey or Declan Rice deal, it was kind of just going to be the cherry on top of what is already a delicious cake. Chelsea, what have we bought this summer? Well, we bought Mbayamba from Barcelona. He's a youngster that's probably not going to play in the first team for quite a while, but he's a very promising youngster. He's got comparisons made between himself and Virgil van Dijk with that Dutch partnership there. He's an exciting young player. There's also the small matter of bringing in Timo Werner from Red Bull Leipzig. And this one for me, it had very much Fabregas, and when we bought in Felipe Luis, we bought in Costa. When we had those kind of players coming in under Mourinho, we knew that it was an area of the pitch that Chelsea knew they needed to invest in. We got the business done early. We've known that Timo Werner was going to be a Chelsea player before the end of last season. So what this means is he's had a lot of time with the players. He's had a lot of time with Lampard and the coaching staff. And despite 4 games in the Prem without a goal, we've already seen in the early stages of this season that Timo Werner is a player with so much ability. He offers a lot of pace, a lot of different kind of runs and dynamic attributes to this Chelsea team. Timo Werner, I think, is definitely going to be a hit in a Chelsea shirt. It's just a matter of time before he gets that first goal. The next player we're going to talk about is the man from Ajax who came to the bridge last season, whipped in a wonderful free kick, put in a delightful performance. Chelsea looked at that and thought, blimey, we need this geezer in our team. A left footer who plays on the right-hand side, he cuts in. Hakim Ziyech, we've not seen him yet in a blue shirt other than in a friendly against Brighton where he already pretty much made an assist and made a goal. This is one that I'm very, very excited for. I see the ability that Hakim Ziyech has, and I think he is exactly the kind of player that Chelsea need. If I bring it back to the analysis I made in the first half of the game against Palace, where we weren't creating chances, there weren't enough incisive passes to the strikers, to Tammy or Timo, Hakim Ziyech is the man who can deliver all of that and more. He's a very creative player, he's a very skillful player, he's going to get people off of their seats if we're allowed to go to the bloody stadiums, or at least off of my bed or the sofa. Hakim Ziyech, very excited. I think in the grander scheme of things, he's a bargain. I think it was like 30-something million. Very, very excited to see this man in a blue shirt. The next player that we're going to talk about is Malang Sarr, another youngster that was bought in, another centre-back bought in from Nice. You see the long-term idea behind this one for Chelsea. Free agent, very low-risk transfer. He's a man who could grow to be a very strong centre-back. He's got a big build. He's already had a presence playing in a top league. He's played a lot of minutes considering his age. He's gone away now, but I think, it could be a very, very good career for Malang Sarr, and hopefully we see the best of him and he's playing in a blue shirt. We're now going to talk about Mr. Thiago Silva. Again, an absolute no-brainer. when it comes to Chelsea knowing that they needed to invest in centre-backs. Last season, the defence, it was the sticking point of this team. We were good going forward. We struggled defensively. And what do? You go out on the market and you look for a player. Not only is he a free agent, but he's been one of the best centre-backs in world football for many years. He brings a bucket ton of experience. He brings leadership. And he brings a winning mentality to this Chelsea team. Considering how young everybody is, when you listen to the way Thiago Silva speaks in interviews, yes, it's done in Portuguese and then it's translated into English, but you feel like this guy wants to do absolutely nothing other than win. That kind of mentality is going to be invaluable experience for some of the younger players in this squad to learn from, to grow from. And I think Thiago Silva, I've already seen from him in the games that he's played, he's still got it. It's not like physically he's deteriorating. His agent says that he could probably go on and play at the very highest level, which of course Chelsea are one of the highest level teams in the Premier League, for at least 4 or 5 more years. And if we can get that out of him, then we're absolutely laughing. I think it's a brilliant signing for Chelsea. I'm not going to do like ratings on the players in this video as to how good I think the signing was, because it's still early stages. And I think we know that with a player like Thiago Silva, it's not just what he's going to bring on the pitch, but it's what he's going to bring off the pitch as well. The next player that I want to talk about is the man that came in from Rennes. We've just drawn Rennes in the Champions League, Edouard Mendy. He probably had the easiest Premier League debut of any goalkeeper who's ever joined the Premier League. He pretty much had nothing to do, and he also had a relatively good debut in against Spurs in the League Cup as well. Mendy's been brought in to challenge Kepa and offer competition for the #1 spot at Chelsea. My personal opinion is, from the 2 performances that we've seen in the 2 games he played last week, even though there's an international break now and things can happen in the next 11 days, I think it'd be very hard for Mendy to not start Chelsea's next Premier League game. Even though Kepa is still there, we didn't manage to secure a loan move away for Kepa. It was always going to be hard, because if Chelsea were looking to sell him, it was going to have to be for a decent fee. When the goalkeeper is in that bad form, Chelsea were never really going to be able to warrant asking for a fee like that. So we've now got Kepa at the club and Edouard Mendy. I'm very excited with how it's gone so far. And I think he could be Chelsea's #1, even though it looks like he already is, for quite some time. So the second to last player that we're going to talk about today is Mr. Benjamin Chilwell. I mean, he had a wonderful game for Chelsea against Palace at the weekend, getting his first goal, latching onto a ball that was loose in the box. He got an assist as well. It was, in my opinion, the perfect performance from Chelsea's new left-back. And then he goes out and now he can't play for England because he's broken COVID rules. It's just the way the world works, you know. 1 minute everyone's talking about you in a good light. The next minute you go to a flipping party. I hate the way the world's gone, to be honest. Flipping Corona. Who'd have thought it, eh? Ben Chilwell, though. Let's talk about it from purely a football aspect. I think what we've seen from him so far is a clear upgrade on the other left backs that we have at the club. He's been brought in as a long-term future Chelsea left back for many years to come. I think what he did at the weekend was fantastic. I'm very excited. At first, a lot of us looked at it, and obviously United have now gone out and signed Alex Telles as well from Porto for half the price of what we spent on Ben Chilwell. A lot of Chelsea fans were kind of like, well, should we not have just gone for someone cheaper and then we could have invested that money in other areas of the squad? I was also on board that train, but at the same time, I've always said the same thing. If Frank Lampard believes in it, then I believe in it. So Ben Chilwell's our man. He's made a brilliant start to his Chelsea career. And I think this one, we could see one of the best left-backs in the Premier League for many years to come. And the final one that we're going to talk about is kind of like the end of an era with the end of the transfer window. It's been an incredible summer of videos here on GBFC. The channel has gone from, I don't know what we were at, we were on like, I don't know, we've gained like an extra 30,000 subscribers during this transfer window, so I'm very happy about that. And a lot of that was down to the abundance of videos that I was able to make during the Kai Havertz transfer saga. The man signed just before the beginning of the season. He got a couple of days with the players and then made his debut straight away. And what we've seen so far from Havertz is very exciting. He might not have got himself a Premier League goal, but he's already getting an assist. He's looking very sharp. He won one of the penalties at the weekend as well. And I think what I've really liked so far about Havertz is his work rate. He likes to get back. He's doing a lot of work for this Chelsea team. He's obviously a very expensive player with there's a lot of pressure on him to perform, but I think so far, from what I've seen, I'm very impressed. And I think it's only a matter of time, and you hear the way that Lampard speaks about him as well. Lampard loves his attitude, he loves how humble he is, and he's going to be one of those players that we see in a blue shirt for many years. I think overall, all of these players combined, it's been an incredible transfer window for Chelsea Football Club, when a lot of other teams around us, supposedly big teams, have struggled to really pull their finger out and actually make waves in the market to allow them to have better seasons, to grow as clubs. What we've seen from Roman Abramovich, Marina Granovskaya and everyone at Chelsea is the desire, the ambition to bridge that gap from where we have been in the past few seasons, a little bit up and down, to put us back towards the top of the English footballing ladder, back towards the top of the European football ladder. And I think these players that we've brought in, we've got to remember that we've still got so many young academy graduates who have really started to flourish in this Chelsea team under Frank Lampard. I think it's an incredibly exciting time to be a Chelsea fan. And that is that. The transfer window is done. I'd love to ask you to hit the like button on today's video. Let's see if we can go for 7,000 on the final Chelsea FC transfer news video for a couple of months. The January window is just around the corner, and maybe if Chelsea do struggle, we might see us dip our fingers in our pockets again and pull out a bit of cash for some more players. In the meantime, it's international break. We've got FIFA 21 Chelsea career mode beginning tomorrow. So let me know if you're excited for that one. Let me know your thoughts on all of the moves for players leaving the club on loan or whatever it may be in the transfer window deadline yesterday. I don't know where I'm going with this one. This is a bit of an elongated outro from me. I'm normally pretty good with these, but I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow with a brand new video. Catch you all later.